Thank you. Hello. All right, fantastic. So I'm not going to make this look good. I'm just going to look all weird with wires because it will take longer and all that jazz. And I'm also going to set a timer because I have no sense of time and I can make 1 minute into 30. So I'm going to set a 25-minute timer and hopefully be even, around that time. So, um, I noticed a lot of people probably had to use the restroom right now, and they're probably going, "Why am I listening about a presentation on emotional intelligence?" Okay. Well, let me go ahead and say, first of all, my background is I have a master's of industrial organizational psychology. I have a master's of business administration. I am working on a PhD in organizational behavior. And my dissertation is actually a little bit different than most people working in organizational behavior. It's actually how does color vision affect frontline law enforcement based on the research that I led for the FBI, right? Which we're not going to get into today because it's not about emotional intelligence. But what's really important is when I was getting my IO degree, I realized that those people needed an MBA or to understand accounting, finance, things like that to run their business in IO psychology. But I also understood that MBAs really needed to understand leadership, how to motivate their employees, how to inspire them, how to actually understand motivation, right? And here we have a lot of doctors. You all learned that hard science. Please don't tell all my professors that I call psychology a soft science. They would not be excited about that, but that's why I love it. It's the gray area, right? You're not always right. You're not always wrong. It's an opinion, and hopefully it's an educated one. So here today, I hope that I can help you all improve your emotional intelligence. And why is this important? Because it actually does improve patient care and patient outcomes. Most people don't understand that, right? So we'll be doing that today. So we're going to do a brief overview. We're going to look at motivational frameworks. What actually motivates people, right? We'll look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which most of you probably know. We'll look at briefly Hertzberg's. We'll do a couple definitions and constructs, and then also emotional intelligence and leadership. Those will be kind of combined. I hate when a professor gets up there and all he does is talk about theory, because theory is often horribly applied and it doesn't work, okay? My professors love me, obviously, because I always have thoughts on things. And that means I like a healthy debate. So, and also, what can we start doing today in your practice to provide that better patient care through emotional intelligence? So, motivation frameworks, we have Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Before any step can go to the next step, you have to satisfy the first. So what does that mean? So this, by the way, always think about your employees and yourself while I'm talking about this stuff, right? So if their physiological needs are not met, they don't have enough food at home, right? They don't have water, they can't breathe, they don't have help. Guess what? They're probably not going to be doing a great job in the office. I'm just going to tell you that right now. They're focusing on other things. Next one is safety needs. Do they have shelter? Do they have financial security? Right? That is also important. Love and belonging. After you satisfy those, the next one, everybody here, I'm sure you all have friends and family that love you and that you love. Okay? That's a very important thing. And that is part of our motivation in life. So at work, you might go, oh, I'm the, business and personal blend. I don't care what you say. You can't unblend it, right? You all have, small businesses, medium-sized businesses. It's really important to understand that is your family. The president of our organization the other day said, man, I really love our team. It does feel like family, right? There's about 10 to 15 of us. Next one after that, love and belonging, is self-esteem. We have to have confidence in ourselves. And guess what? If you don't have these three, it's hard to believe in yourself and have that confidence and to also help others get there. And then last but certainly not least is self-actualization. Now, if you think you're there, great. But that is like the Dalai Lama, right? That's Buddha. That's Jesus. Self-actualization is a very, very difficult. And if you think you're there again, you might not have self-awareness. We strive for that, right? Hertzberg. He's a pretty important one because that's actually within the workplace. Okay, so as you notice, the hygiene factors, a lot of them are going to be well aligned with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've got company policies. Are those company policies aligned with the beliefs and values of yourself and the person that works with you, right? Just to be satisfied, like go into the workplace and be okay. You have to satisfy these hygiene factors. This is not job satisfaction. This is making sure there's not dissatisfaction, right? So supervision, one of the top reasons people quit, because they have a horrible boss. Okay, so that's an important one. Salary, as I mentioned, that financial security like we talked over here, they have to have enough money to go ahead and feed their family. And basically, if they don't, it's going to be very hard for them to be satisfied. Job security, that is your job as a leader in your organization to create that job security, to be transparent with them, to give them feedback. We are going to jump into that later, so not going to. And then working conditions. Luckily, we live in the United States, and mostly job conditions are quite good, quite well. That's a poor one on my behalf. Luckily, we have OSHA. We have things like this, and this is a doctor's office, right? So then now we've just satisfied them. Now we want to motivate them. We want to get them excited. We want to inspire them, right? And that's where we're going to start on these achievement. Do you have ability to achieve in the organization? And are you recognizing that achievement? Now, let me just give you a little tip. I'm sure all of you know this, but sometimes it's hard. Praise in front of others. Give constructive feedback behind closed doors. Nobody wants to be criticized in front of others. It's a bummer, right? But you better believe they love being praised in front of others, and that's important. Okay, next one is the work itself. We are so fortunate to be in healthcare. Why? Because we feel the work itself is fulfilling, okay? And you need to help them understand, every single teammate from the front desk all the way to yourself. I'm helping improve people's lives. I mean, I cannot deny I have watched a couple of those YouTube videos of a child putting on glasses for the first time, seeing their mother, seeing their father, and putting that big grin. I mean, I cannot, I would probably just be a blabbering idiot and be crying if I had that happen in my office. But you all get to do that, right? And that's a true blessing, in my opinion. Next is responsibility and advancement. Do they feel responsible for the outcomes of the organization? Right? You are the leaders in that organization, but you need to help your front desk all the way to your technicians and all the other doctors that you work with understand that they are responsible for the outcomes of that organization. It's every single one of them. I can go and have a great thing with every single person, but if that front desk person is having a bad day and they're like, here's their forms, fill it out, that can create, so it is all well aligned. And the last is, can they be advanced? Is there advancement? Guess what? Some of us have small organizations. You're like, well, I can't promote. There's not another thing. It's not just about advancement. It's about building their personal and professional tool bag. That's really important, right? And I'll give a quote later on about that from somebody way smarter than myself. So definitions. This is hopefully the only time that I will read directly from a slide. Emotional intelligence is the ability to monitor one's own and others, that's a very important word there, feelings and emotions, to discriminate among them and to use this information to guide one's thinking and actions, okay? We're going to be looking at Goleman's principles. First is self. Now, I will say, Goleman is the expert, so I feel kind of silly saying this, so this is 100% my opinion. If I ever say anything, I will tell you it's peer-reviewed backed, right? If I say it's my opinion, it's not necessarily peer-reviewed back, right? He says you don't have to do these in order. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you're not self-aware, it's probably going to be kind of hard to control your emotions and self-regulate. If you can't even know your own emotions, how are you going to start identifying emotions of others, right? So to me, it is a step in the process of becoming better. So today, can EI be improved? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, this would be a pretty pointless presentation if it couldn't be. I'd just be telling you, well, that's a bummer. You're not going to be able to improve. But now you know it. Good luck. No, we can. And I'm going to tell you right now, I did have an experience the other day with a lovely lady who I realized that my teammates don't always like direct feedback. I need to give them a positive one, some constructive feedback, and another positive one, right? That sandwich feedback. And she was like, I just want it direct. But so she knew her feelings, she understood her and regulate herself, but she understood how others wanted. And that to me is a true leader. So we're going to be looking at Goleman's 4 domains of emotional intelligence: self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and relationship. And as I said, nobody wants to just hear theory, right? So I'm going to try my hardest to apply it to your practice. On occasion, I will also talk about it for myself. Why? Because I have failed a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes, right? I'm beyond fortunate to run my own organization, but I also support 6 others. And we have about 450 employees across the organizations that I support. And these are things that I talk about with each founder that I do help. So self-awareness, what does that mean? Crucial in balancing clinical precision with patient and teammate interaction. Okay. Next one is self-regulate. How do you cope with time pressures, complex cases, staff conflicts, right? Understanding how you do that and that self-regulation and how you react affects others. I need you to understand that. When you are flustered, when you are stressed, when you are grumpy, I know the word energy, some, energy, this, that. I have friends that are all like, all that stuff. But guess what? Your energy does rub off on other people and they can become grumpy. They can do that each day, right? So how you react is very, very important. Social awareness, reading emotional cues of staff, and foster empathy and communication. Again, all of this feels real warm and fuzzy and fluffy. Trust me, I sit in those classes with traditional students who have no experience in the real world, and they come up with a lot of really great ideas that will never be implemented because it doesn't have an impact on the ROI, on their outcomes. These things do. It has an impact on your outcomes within your organization financially, as well as your patient care. Peer-reviewed, evidence-based, okay? And then relationship management. Use your emotional understanding to inspire others. Okay, let's see. Yeah. All right, so here we have self-awareness in the practice. Clinical decision-making. Okay, so I'm going to tell you right now, I am very biased about something. I believe every practice should have an extended color vision test. But I'm biased. Every single one of you here went to school to understand the science of optometry and the eye care, right? You know a whole lot more about it than I do. And I'm going to trust that you do exactly what you need to do that's best for your patients. And I trust you to do that. And oftentimes I will have discussions with optometrists and I look at them and they go, that's not, and they actually give me their rationale. And I go, yeah, it might not fit in your practice, even though I want it to, but you're right. Okay. Then I get others that I can't necessarily agree with, and that's okay. So the next one is patient interactions. So how many of you realize, we all know when we're tired, right? We had a bad night's rest, you go into the practice, but how many of you think about that and then actually do something about it within your practice? It's hard to have 5 hours of sleep and not have maybe a little grumpiness here, especially if you had bad night's rest, complex cases, things of this nature, right? So I want you to think about that patient interaction because right now, a good example of this is, and again, this is not in a practice, and I apologize, but TSA. What a hard job. Let me tell you right now, we've met with the TSA several times in color vision, and I'm going to tell you their job task is not to make your life miserable. It didn't say it anywhere. Actually, we've looked at it. We've looked at their task. It actually is to make it safer for you to fly. Okay? These people are paid peanuts, and right now they're not even being paid. So the other day I was in New York. It took me 24 hours to get home to Bentonville, Arkansas. It was a very, very, very long 24 hours. I will say I was very tired. I was probably grumpy. But I also realized that these TSA agents, their financial were probably hurt. Could they feed their family that week? Could they get gas to come to work? Right? And so I went out of my way for every single TSA agent to say thank you for being there because they are making our skies safer, right? And people don't realize it. Again, I understand the headaches of going through security and TSA, but That's something that I have personally, and I try to go out of my way to say thank you so much. Next is practice management, okay? Understanding one's leadership style, okay? There's lots and lots of leadership styles, all these different types of assessments, things of this nature, okay? I'm just going to talk about two today, transactional and transformational. Transformational are leaders. Transactional leaders, in my opinion, are managers. They lead by numbers. They lead by goals. They lead by this. You do need that. You need goals. Goal setting theory is real. When you have goals, guess what? People accomplish more. It's science. However, that transformational leader is inspiring them. They trust you. You've shown vulnerability. You're transparent. These things will improve your practice. It's not easy being vulnerable as a leader. You're like, oh, I don't want that. They're going to see this weakness. It's okay. Guess what? They have weaknesses too. They know it. And that builds trust. And trust does a lot within an organization. Leadership tip. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't do this. So let's just start there. However, they will say, let's say you get to lunch with all that time that you have between patients and that lunchtime. I know y'all are very busy. Let's say that you're really flustered and you're having a bad day. Okay. In a journal, hey, I'm having a bad day. Think about, why are you having a bad day? Well, because that first patient I had, their mom would not stop telling me how to do my job, right? Didn't love it. I was already tired, this, that, the other. Write that down, think about it. Now think about that mom. She just wants the best for her kid, right? But yes, they can sometimes not be the nicest people telling an expert how to do their job. So, self-regulation. How do you behave when under pressure? You're running from exam to exam. You're running late. You had those complex cases. What's your behavior like? Are you frazzled? Are you freaking out? I'm going to tell you right now, that's going to rub off on your employees. It 100% is. I had an employee the other day. I like to call them teammates. The word employee to me, again, warm and fuzzy. And I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for my incredible teammates. They all have strengths that complement my weaknesses, and I'm so fortunate to have that. The other day, our chief research officer, a PhD of biopsychology, and this, that, he may have made a pretty large financial mistake that spent a little bit more money than we expected because he did not write the specific thing in a survey, right? And I'm not going to lie, looked at the finance, like, that is, luckily I didn't do that in front of him. I said, hey, I've made much bigger financial mistakes in my life. What are you going to do better? Well, I'm going to read the instructions for that survey and make sure it's only the first 50 participants and not every participant that gets a card, right? But if I would have been freaking out, that would not have led to any great outcome. It would have just stressed him out going into the weekend. So it's really, really important how you interact with these individuals because they're going to match you. They're going to role model you. Oh, fantastic. That's next, right? So however you behave with your patients and your other team members, they're going to do the exact same. That's why regulation is so important. It doesn't mean you're not feeling it inside, agitation, or holy cow, that was a very large inventory. You bought, oh, how much inventory for this right now? That's not, that's way too much. Cash. Hey, how do we learn from this, right? How do we resolve this? Self-regulation, how comfortable are you with change, right? That's an important one. Understanding that change makes almost every single person uncomfortable, but it is the only thing that's never going to change. Okay? And then they always say taxes. But that will never change. So get comfortable with it, regulate, and be okay with it. So leadership tip here, after I saw how much money that guy accidentally spent, right? I said, oh, okay. I just took a deep breath, right? When you get that bad news, just take that deep breath, think about it, and then talk about it, okay? Impulse behavior, which I am very, very familiar with, is not going to be beneficial. So just take that breather, understand how you feel, self-regulate, and then give that feedback or whatever needs to be done. Social or others awareness in the practice. Patient care. So, how does that patient feel in that moment? Can you empathize? Why or why not? So my dad is an optometrist, retired now, and it's weird. I do not like things near. I don't mind putting contacts in myself. I don't mind touching my face, putting any, but I do not love things near my face at all, right? So if a patient is over here doing this, empathize. Okay, maybe you can't understand that because you don't have that problem, right? But you say, oh man, I can tell that. Hey, what's making you uncomfortable? Truly try to understand it. Oh, I just accidentally, something poked my, or this, that. You might even get more information from it. Team dynamics. This is a really important one. You might understand that there are people within your organization that don't get along in an amazing way. It happens. We're people, right? And so just understand that in team dynamics. When you do this, detecting technician burnout is a really good one, right? You don't know what's happening at home. And that's why I always bring up that others awareness. You never understand what these people are going through. So ask them, is there anything else going on, right? Community leadership, social. So this is not necessarily within your practice, but I do want to let you know that this is very important. I am fortunate to be a group of healthcare executives. I am probably the lower tier on this one, to be quite self-aware. Some people make a couple $1 billion in private equity in healthcare. We have a state senator. We have a lot of truly incredible leaders that I'm fortunate and blessed to learn from. And the other day, everybody's talking about all this great they're doing, and I felt they were so disconnected because I know where I came from, and I was born. We first lived in apartments. I did not know it, but we missed dinners, we missed payments on things because I don't know. I'm 6 years, this year, not old to understand this. Understand. We don't really understand. A lot of times, we don't understand what poor actually is. They're not deciding on whether to go to their annual checkup to an optometrist or a gastroenterologist. This is not their decision. What they're trying to decide is on if they should buy food so they can eat tonight or gas so they can buy more food so they can eat more nights, right? So sometimes think about that, and please do give back to your community. I think that's really important. And then also from a social awareness and leadership tip, I have been known, they say I have ADD. I'm not going to disagree with them, right? And somebody starts talking and I just get really excited and I rudely interrupt. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to talk about, I'm just very excited about that topic, right? I have learned myself that I bring a pad of paper and a pen, and after I talk, I do my mic drop. And then I sit there and I listen, and I actively listen. And when they say something, instead of trying to say, have that topic that I want to talk about, I write it down. That way, now it's off. I'm good. I remember, right? That's my tip for myself. And so hopefully, just this active listening is so important because it does truly build trust. All right. Last in Goldman's is relationship management in the practice. As I mentioned earlier, develop your staff personally and professionally. Increase that tool bag. That is a huge motivator. And somebody, again, much smarter than myself, that's done incredibly well, Richard Branson, yes. Or a meme somewhere said it, and who knows if he said it, right, at this point. Train people well enough so that they can leave, but treat them well enough so they don't want to. Everybody thinks it's based on money. As long as they're financially secure, it's not based on money. If they can pay for food, gas, this, that, the other. It's not. I've had people on my team get offered way more money, and luckily they don't leave, okay? Next one is conflict resolution, as I mentioned with the patient, eyes, this, that, the other. When somebody is reacting and having, hey, is something else going on? Ask them that and empathize. And we can't always, know that you can both have the same exact experience, but your perception of that experience can be very different. I'm blessed to be here today. I believe every single day I'm alive is a blessing. Why? Because I had end-stage renal failure. I was on dialysis, and I am a transplant patient. When I had my transplant, I had one. Love to see the GFR up there. By the way, Jackie is not here, but love to seeing all that. Very familiar with it. 3 times while I was in that dialysis chair, I thought that my time was coming. Right? And now I meet others who are also going through what I call the dying process. I can empathize, but I'm not in their shoes. I can't have that same perception because guess what? I have different beliefs, right? Personally, I'm a believer. So I thought, okay, my time's coming. This is what's chosen. And I was okay with it. Some people might not have that, right? And that's okay, but at least empathize because that would be a lot harder, in my opinion, to die without it. Develop a vision that inspires but also provides direction. I am looking at the time, so please know I am trying my hardest to go fast. I did an hour into 30 minutes. Not the easiest thing. And also Justin, my boy over there, as you can tell, the timer went off. He's going to be like, it's my turn. So I'm watching to be respectful and others aware. I've already told them, right? Develop a vision that inspires and provides direction within your practice. Wait, a vision statement. Come on. You know, how's that going to help? Okay. I'm going to tell you. Herb Kelleher of Southwest Airlines said, we are going to be the low-cost airline. That was his vision. Somebody came into his office and said, Herb, I got the best idea. The best idea. He said, what is it? He goes, 4-hour plus flights. We give them a chicken salad sandwich. Herb's like, I like that. That's good customer service. And he goes, tell me more. So he's going on and on about all the positives. He goes, okay, great. So will that make us a low-cost airline? And he goes, well, every ticket's going to be 10 cents more. Not going to do it because that does not align with a low-cost airline. And so at my organization for color, you know, you think it's about penetrate the market with color, do all this with color. No, at Waggoneer Diagnostics, improve healthcare and help people. That's it. That's what our job is at Waggoneer Diagnostics, right? So if your neighbor calls and needs a ride to the doctor because she's 78, she doesn't have family, that is part of your job at Waggoneer because that's my vision. That's our vision statement. And that's important to me because that's what we're in. We're in healthcare, right? So leadership tip, Fabulous Feedback Friday. They love it. No, they did not love it at first. Please know that, okay? This is both positive and constructive feedback. And it goes both ways. It's not you just telling them feedback. It's you getting feedback. And this is important because that creates vulnerability and trust, which improves employee satisfaction, okay? So be okay becoming better. And I always tell people, if I'm providing you constructive feedback, it means I really like you. Like, what? What are you talking about? Because if I don't like, why am I going to waste the time of giving constructive feedback? Right? I don't want you, like, I'm not going to take that time. I believe my time is very valuable. Okay? So it's okay. Know that constructive feedback is trying to make them better and embrace that feedback. All right. I'm almost done, I promise. 2 minutes, hopefully. EI is a strong predictor of transformational leadership. EI improves decision-making and conflict resolution. This is all peer-reviewed. So if you get better at this, all of this is going to get better. Leaders with high EI foster psychological safety within your organization. They feel like they have job security because you're very open with them. You're providing them constant feedback. And that can be constructive to the point where they know they have their job, but if they don't get better at this, they might not have that job security, right? They understand that because you're communicating it. And EI contributes to improved team performance and employee satisfaction. And as I mentioned earlier, by improving EI as a leader, it indirectly improves patient outcomes. I know that's a hard one to believe, but I promise you, it's peer-reviewed. So what can we do today? Relationship building. It's so important, and I know, business is business, personal is personal. We all have small organizations. We're not running, unless you're a CEO of 10,000 people. Build trust. Positive practices. This is actually a very important one. I read an article about the top 5 things that allow you to live longer. And actually, weirdly enough, how you eat and your exercise was lower than good family and friends and love, as well as these micro moments. I was shocked by this. Going up to your barista that day and saying, I really like your smile. It just brightened my day. It's actually things like that will allow you to live longer and happier. And guess what? It also made them feel good, which is pretty darn cool. Tiny acts of kindness, empathy, and care. Small interactions compound into stronger teams. Gratitude, gratitude, gratitude. I have a story there, but not going to say it. And again, that mic drop, right? Do that. So I'm going to end. First of all, thank you so much for allowing me to be here. And I do need reminders because otherwise I will be all over the place. This is why I have a presentation. Is this care badge? A friend of mine sold her company for a very large amount, over $100 million. Okay. And she said, I've really become disconnected from people. I feel like I've been living in a bubble. So she actually went and worked at Walmart as a frontline associate up in Boston as a door greeter, a cashier, and stocking for 4 years. Imagine that. You sell your company for $100 million and you go work at Walmart as a cashier, right? Unfortunately, during that time, she also had a brain issue and she had to have brain surgery and it was life or death. And she realized during this healthcare obstacle that unpaid caregivers are absolutely critical for the success of us and making this world a better place. Okay? You all have a really special place in healthcare because you are paid caregivers. But I do not for 1 second believe that you're not unpaid caregivers. You probably call for your parents to help them get their prescriptions, take them to the doctor, or others that are sick, okay? And there's a lot of burnout when that happens, okay? And so one day she knew things that I've gone through and this, that, the other, and she said, TJ, I want to give you this care badge. It meant the absolute world to me. And so now at the end of my presentations, I always just want people to understand that even if they are paid caregivers, they are also unpaid caregivers, right? And to this day, my mom came up and lived with us in Arkansas when I had end-stage renal failure. My brother then lived with us longer, even though he wanted to move out of state. And my sister took it as a nurse, came and looked after my wife and I, because she was my donor, after we had our transplant, our kidney. So thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do. I hope you realize how important your job is. It's also why I come up here, and I know emotional intelligence, half the room left. It's okay. My feelings aren't hurt. It happens, right? But what you do is so important. And I just hope that one of you, a couple of you, increase a little bit of something in your tool bag to take back to hopefully make this world a better place for your teammates and your patients. If you have any questions, my email's up there, and thank you so much for your time. Thank you.